I'm done. I'm finally done. Hi, I'm ED-SKaR, and today I'm looking at my new Rapid Red, mostly set of 3D printed parts that I designed myself, but also the Malice cage for the Rapid Red. If I was a proper YouTuber, I'd have an introduction right here, but I'm not, so I don't. Now, I've made it no secret that I am a real fan of the Rebel series, to the point where my first primary for myself build was a Rapid Red with a Guardian crossbow stock that was put to exactly the right length for my arm. Now, I will mention this again at some point in this video, but let's put this aside just for the moment. Because this build, which is the point of the video today, all came about because of the Malice cage. So after I did my Malice strife with the world's first 43 1/3 millimeter Malice cage, when Alice said, "Would you like the Malice cage for a Rapid Red?" I said, yes, of course I want a Malice cage for a Rapid Red. Rapid Reds is one of my favourites. However, she made one mistake, and there's a little bit of fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me, because when asked what level of motor spacing I want for the strife cage, and when I said 42.33, because of course I did, because I'm annoying like that, Alice delivered. And what Alice should have realised by that point is that if she gives me the option, I'm going to say something silly. She didn't learn, however, and so when she offered me the Rapid Red cage to test, she once again made the mistake of asking me what level of motor spacing I want. So I asked for 42.3415982, which anyone who knows anything about maths will understand that there's a little bit of a mistake in there, because what I was aiming for was the world's first 42 1/10 of pi flywheel cage. Got some of the numbers wrong there. That's my fault. Sorry, guys. Anyway, as soon as I put in the flywheel cage, I realised that the only motors I had were Titan Hyperions. Now, these are actually the older silver Titan Hyperions rather than the nice shiny blue ones I put in the strife. But that's not too much of a problem. What really is the problem, and either of those types of motors would have caused me the same problem, is that any of the batteries that I currently own that can supply enough current for a pair of Titan Hyperions aren't going to fit in the tiny, tiny battery compartment that the Rapid Red actually has. And even carving out the insides can just about fit most of this in, but they still end up dangling out. Now, for my original Rapid Red, what I did to use those same batteries was to simply make an extended battery door. So in here is the front of the original battery compartment that's been cut off so that you can get the battery further down. But then instead of using the original battery door, I have 3D printed this kind of blocky extension that just goes over the top. But then to attach it, you need a really, really long screw because it has to go through the whole thing. It's not a particularly elegant solution, but it does work. And I also added a 3D printed flash hider kind of thing just to balance out the front, otherwise it had a bit of an underbite. But that worked, but I wanted a better solution than that. So when it came to this Rapid Red, I went and did an extended battery compartment instead that uses the original battery door on the front. And of course, once again, I've added on a flash hider to balance it out and kind of give it a more of a kind of swoopy, rebelly front end that I'm not 100% happy with it, but, you know, it looks pretty good. And I did that on a live stream. And of course, if I ever do anything on a live stream, I generally get sidetracked and people make comments and I get sidetracked by the comments and I just come up with ideas and get sidetracked by my own ideas. So I ended up doing some of the other parts as well as 3D printed pieces. Now, one of the things that always annoyed me about the Rapid Red, and in fact most of the Rebel Secrets and Spies line, is that you have purple and mauve, and then also blue, and then also pink. And it's just this mishmash of far too many colours, and for me it just doesn't mesh, it doesn't work with all those different colours. Now, for my original Rapid Red, this was kind of a problem for quite some time. and I think I'll post a picture of what this Rapid Red used to look like. Because the trigger and the jam door were pink, and they are the plastic pieces that are very hard to paint, while I can paint everything else to match, I can make everything else kind of a blue with a bit of a yellow kind of on the top, these pink parts just stood out and kind of ruined the look. So when I made a jam door and a trigger for this one, to make this mostly purple with some blue accents, I went back and took those same files and 3D printed the trigger and the jam door in blue for this one. And that's actually the same kind of slightly translucent filament that the muzzle has, and the magazine cover as well. So that now all matches nicely and is mostly blue with just a little bit of yellow as detail. Really very much how I wanted it in the first place, because I've done this project for a different gun. Also, from a suggestion in the comments, I put on a little bit of an extended magwell, if I go and hunt down a magazine. Now, a flared magwell is supposed to help with reloading, so that you kind of shove in a magazine and you don't have to look and kind of work out exactly how you want to line up the magazine to get it in. And this is very, very small extra little bit of material on the outside. So it doesn't help by much, and it mostly is aesthetic more than actually functional. However, it does work. I wonder, since this has the blue pieces on it, how does that... Ooh, I like that. It's not curvy enough. It's a bit too kind of angular and mechanical. Oh well. Magazine's not the point of this video. The one part that I actually did have more trouble with was the expanded motor cover. Now, the Titan Hyperions are 132 sized, so slightly longer than a true 130. So I needed to cut up the shell, and actually the motors that I put in here were 130s, true 130s, and the wiring that I did was so poor that it only just closes on top of them. I think I should go back and redo my soldering in here just to make that sit a little better. I'm much better at soldering now than I was when I built this. So there's actually 3 or 4 different versions of the motor cover that I printed, just because I wasn't particularly happy with how it was coming out. And this final version is still not ideal, but it's kind of good enough, and it's gone on, and it's nice and strong, and it kind of does look the part as long as you don't look too closely. The real thing to notice is that this has a window and LEDs. This is the first time I've ever done a visible flywheel cage, and it's also the first time I've done LEDs. And that's partly because the Malice cage just looks so good, and the Malice logo, having the Malice signature on the outside here, was my solution for the Strife, printing that out separately and gluing it on the outside. But for this one I wanted to do something different, so I've gone for, well, different for me, even though it's a fairly common mod in the community. Now, to get the material for the window there, very shiny reflective surface that it is, I went around and I looked at everything that I have that's see-through and strong enough, and I couldn't really come up with anything. And it took me a while to figure something out, and it was only when my sister said, "Gee whiz, you drink an awful lot of Coke. Why don't you use the..." Oh yeah, PETG, great. I, of course, have a massive supply of PETG because I drink a vast quantity of cheap cola. And so this window is actually slightly flexible because it is PETG from a drinks bottle. And what that means is that the melting point of the PETG is higher than the melting point of the PLA of the 3D printed cover, and also the same for the flywheel cage itself. So this is going to be damaged after the other parts have destroyed themselves, so it's not really a problem. And that was an excellent choice and has worked really rather well. And I'll throw up a video of the LEDs lighting up. It essentially lights up whenever you pull the rev button, and it's got 2 little blue LEDs that point at the Malice logo. This is also the first time that I've painted a flywheel cage, and I never thought I'd ever do that. Because I printed it in black, I painted the top surface blue, and then I filled in the logo in purple. So it's the same blue and purple that the rest of the shell is, so it matches all of that. One other technical point I should point out about the flywheel cage itself is that for this particular build I used the Worker Black flywheels, and the Worker Black flywheels are one of the largest flywheels around, or at least as far as I'm aware, certainly one of the largest if not the largest. The Malice cage just doesn't quite fit them, and I've had to go through and sand out all the way around the edges to get them to go in, and even then at first they were kind of grinding a little bit, so I went back and had another go, and they work now. In future I'd be recommending the Bulldog flywheel primarily for the Malice cage, and Bulldog flywheels are what I put in the Malice Strife, so I know that they work really rather well. From a technical point of view, the Malice 42 1/10 of pi cage with old Titan Hyperions and Worker Black wheels puts out 35, maybe 37 meters per second, which is 115 to 120 feet per second if you speak archaic. And that's tested with a variety of AccuFake style, which shoot really rather nicely out of this. So if you've come here to actually ask about the 3D printed components, if you've come from the Thingiverse page of these, by the way, I'm posting a Thingiverse link if you haven't come here from the Thingiverse page. So if you want to make any of these components for your Rapid Red, you can do. And if you want to give a financial thank you, you can send that to 555 give me money please. But for the moment, let's have a quick firing demonstration. So one little caveat I'm obliged to mention. At various points during this video, you may see that instead of having the battery cover, the original blue battery cover installed, I have wires dangling out to the front. And unfortunately that's because of a change in concept partway through this project. I was kind of getting to the point where I was wiring it up and printing out all the bits when someone said how much. I told them a number, which was far too small a number, and they said done. Now because I was selling it on, and now that it's finished I can actually do that, I wired it for an XT60 connector, which you can see here in yellow. However, my 2-cell LiPos are Dean's connector, and I'm not going to switch them over because I have so many things that's wired for Dean's. I need batteries with Dean's connectors. Now, had I simply wired this for a Dean's connector as I had originally intended, it would all just about fit underneath the original battery door and be fine. But because I've got an XT60 connector, which is larger, and then an adapter from XT60 to Dean's, the wiring is just far too big to actually fully go inside so that I can close that up. So for the shooting segments at any point, it's going to have some wires sticking out the front. Sorry about that. Let's pop into streaming mode for the last time of this project and have a look at the designs that I actually made. And first of all, the Malice cage itself is not my work. That's made by Coatduck, and a beautiful and very functional cage it is. And I will not be distributing that. You will not find files for that on Thingiverse on my account. So firstly, the barrel replacement. This will replace the orange barrel piece on the Rapid Red so that you can glue the flash hider to it. If you're changing the muzzle color, make sure that you are aware of the laws in your area. I'm aware of the laws in mine, so the purple muzzle, the bright purple muzzle, is okay for us to use over here. So this is the extended battery door, which prints upright rather than flat, so that it gives you a nicer internal surface on all four sides. This piece here, which prints in the middle, is separate and goes and glues onto the front of where you put the nut in,
and I've sized that so that you can recover the nut from the original Rapid Red battery housing and glue on that piece on top, and it'll hold it in place. The kind of enlarged area here is to make it actually fit the original Rapid Red battery door, and that was actually I think it was Alice's idea on the one of the live streams to match that shape with the shape on the bottom of the flash hider. So here's the flash hider compensator sort of thing. The bottom surface is this nice big flat surface that will glue to the top of the battery compartment, and then the step here will glue to the front of the barrel extension. The inside surface here and the equivalent inside surface of the barrel replacement piece is the same as the outside diameter of the Nerf barrel tube. So it's 3/4 inch or 19mm pipe. You can run it through there and that will make it nice and strong. I've found that there's enough surface in here that it doesn't need that as long as you glue it properly. Here's the jam door, or the tactical Pringle as it's been known, with the thumb pull so you can open it and a locking surface there. Hopefully this does press the button, the jam door button. However, all of my Rapid Reds have that button removed, so I have not tested that. If anyone does print that out and test it, let me know and see if that does press the button properly. So magazine catch, this should just print and fit straight away. It might need a bit of sanding on the bottom surface or some sanding in there just to open it out, but that should just go straight in and work. So the magwell pieces, I've found that printing them the other way up from this, so upside down with just complete support material underneath all of these surfaces, that's how to get it to print the best. And then because these surfaces are rough because of the support material, they hold the glue better when you glue them onto the Rapid Red. And as I mentioned earlier, these are quite small and they only help a little bit in guiding the magazine, but you know, they look cool and they do help at least a little. Rail tooth piece replacement, if you want to change the color of your rail tooth. I have not printed this, so I don't know if it works. Let me know if you do print that out and test it. Also, the battery door, I've made a replacement battery door if you want to change the color of your battery door. Again, I have not printed out this piece, so let me know if you do print it and it doesn't fit. Maybe you need just a little bit of sanding or cutting to make it fit. Hopefully it won't be too much of a problem. So yeah, if anyone does print this out, let me know how much sanding and where the sanding needs to be done. I can adjust that and make it fit a bit better. The rev button absolutely does need sanding. Usually I print it the other way up from this, so you get quite a bit of support material around here that you need to cut away, and then shaping up this just to smooth it out to make sure it pushes the button cleanly. But this being the top surface usually comes out pretty nicely, and I kind of, it works for me. Again, these print upside down, kind of the other way up, but yeah, these should be just a case of print them and fit them. They, like, sanding that doesn't really seem important. And of course the trigger. Now the trigger here, as you can see, is in separate pieces. These two pieces are interchangeable in that they are the pad for your trigger finger. So this is the main body of the trigger that prints out flat on the print bed. So yeah, separating out the pad of the trigger was actually an idea that came to me from the Vorpal magazine, in that separating the different features of a part so that all of the features print cleanly and then gluing it together, the added work of having a multi-part print and gluing it together is completely blown out by the technical advantages you get from having the layer lines in the right direction for each feature. So in this case, the trigger is widest at the pad and then everything else is kind of flat. So separating that away means you don't need any support material for this part, whereas usually this entire area here, the whole piece has support material underneath it. So you like this as a separate part, you can print this out flat on the print bed and it prints really well, so long as it doesn't peel, of course. But then having the separate trigger pads, not only can you choose different trigger pads to suit your finger, like whichever you prefer the feel of. Glue that on, and actually they are. You can turn them upside down as well, so you've actually got 4 different options. I prefer using this surface, so this piece with this at the top and this at the bottom, and that's my favourite one. And that's what I've got on my blue Rapid Red. I've got this one on my purple one, and it's good, but it's not quite my style. So now we go on to the motor covers and the problems I've had therein. This was my first design, and it didn't really look right on the Rapid Red. And then after that, I went to this much smaller, thinner design that still doesn't quite look right, but it does just about work. I'm also including this, which is a ring that goes on the inside of the second version, and that helps you glue in the plastic, whatever, perspex or Petri bottle, whatever it is you choose to use as the window. That helps glue it in place. So yeah, that's an overview of all of the files and kind of how they print and all of the rest of it. For the most part, they should just print, and a little bit of cleanup, sanding will get them to work. In the case of the motor covers, they probably won't fit unless you do some pretty extensive modification either to the file or the part once you print it.
So I think that's all that really needs to be said. This is complete and ready to go off to its new purchaser, and all of the files are up on Thingiverse if you want to have a look there. I'm ED-SKaR, always have been, and thank you very much for watching.